Let's go to this.
Yeah.
So a couple years back, I believe might have even been some of the Buckeyes in chat might remember this as an Urban Meyer comment. But the Alabama standard as the standard of perfection, the standard of like what you should be shooting for when you're building your football program out. I'm translating that to the Georgia standard because when you look at Georgia, you look at, obviously, I'm not just talking about the two natties. I mean, the game against Bama, they barely lost, and it was their first loss in how many years?
Right.
They have figured out somehow the balance of both having some finesse and some pass game and also physicality. Whereas on the other hand, Ohio State, I just watched a full the game breakdown from 23, which really highlighted some of the route running problems, some of the blocking. Like the wide receivers just wouldn't block for the run plays. They just wouldn't block. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. on one play was just chilling there. I mean, he might have barely brushed the guy, like he was trying to brush some lint off his shoulder or something. And right tackle, their center was getting cooked too, but right tackle consistently through the game. You could say what you want about McCord, and I'm not the biggest McCord fan. I know TJ, you like McCord a little more for if Michigan could get him, you would, but I'm not as much of a fan. But I will say this: I don't think that he was helped by some of these other things that I just mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, look, Ohio State has a mentality problem. We know this. They're a team that wants to be tough but isn't tough. I mean, listen, they're an elite program. Like, let's not get it too twisted. I mean, look, Ohio State is a top 5 program. They're a good team, but they got a little soft in them, and we know this because when they face a team that's about physical play, that's when they take their L's. But when it comes to Georgia, and it's funny because I see some of these comments like Georgia's not the standard. Then who's the standard, bro? I mean, you got Michigan in the Big Ten, you got Georgia in the SEC. Those are the 2 power conferences. It ain't anybody else but Georgia and Michigan, bro. I'm just keeping it real with you. Name another team. It ain't Ohio State. Okay, it ain't Ohio State. It's not LSU. It ain't Alabama. Nick Saban's gone, bro. Like, look, it is Georgia, Michigan. These are the standards. And like, what makes Georgia maybe hold their position a little stronger, where Michigan might possibly not be at the elite undefeated level they were at last year, but we could still be a playoff team this year and compete for the Big Ten title, which we're all looking to do. And Georgia's probably the leader to win the SEC again this year, is because why? One, they're in a recruiting hotbed. They're in one of the most talent-rich areas in the nation. There's Florida, there's Texas, there's California, and there's Georgia. I mean, there's other rich, Louisiana's, everything in the South is really freaking good, but Alabama's very rich, but like Georgia is loaded. And guess what Georgia has to compete with in the state of Georgia? It ain't Georgia Tech. Okay. Like they don't have, like in Florida, for example, you got Miami, you got Florida State, you got Florida. And not only that, UCF is now a Power 4 program. These schools are all throwing money at these kids. In Georgia, where these kids are born and raised in a playground where they spent most of their, I'm just kidding. But where they were born and raised, freaking dude, they want to be Georgia freaking Bulldogs, bro. Like that's where they are. So I mean, they have that. Then you have not only that, academically speaking, Georgia's pretty high up there. They got, in terms of SEC, I mean, look, obviously we know Vanderbilt's, the top school in the SEC in terms of academics, but Georgia is a very highly ranked academic school. Not only is it talent rich in terms of recruiting, then you have the academic portion, and then you have the buy-in by the athletic department, which is all in on NIL. They've been playing NIL for a very long time. Georgia, they are probably one of the most well-rounded programs, even greater than Ohio State, simply because Georgia has a far better talent pool than Ohio State, even though it's a national recruiting program, right? But when kids are born and raised in your state and you literally can pick and choose who you want, which is why we got a Julius Holly. They don't want a Julius Holly. We want a Julius Holly, but they have so much talent that they could be like, no, not this year. So, and not only that, then you have one of the best coaches in football, Kirby Smart. And if anybody, by the way, we have a new Twitter account on, which is the Voice of College Football Network. We just put out a top 10 coaches poll. Kirby Smart was ranked number 1 in our coaches poll. So, it just goes to show you, I mean, Georgia really is, in my opinion, probably, Michigan and Georgia are the two teams that most, and if you listen, dude, if you listen to like a Lincoln Riley, or you listen to some of these other coaches, they say they want to be like Michigan. They say they want to be like Georgia. Michigan's done it the right way. Georgia's done it the right way. Georgia plays physical ball. Yeah, I mean, I think there is a Georgia standard. I also think there's a Michigan standard. But yeah, man, I mean, listen, there's no denying that Georgia's top dog in the SEC right now.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Fresh Prince. I did watch Men in Black last night. High quality film. I do recommend, even though some of the visuals don't quite hold up to 2024. It's still one hell of a fun movie. But D-Rock here. By the way, appreciate you stopping by. Not a Michigan fan, not even a Buckeye. He's a Notre Dame fan. We got Notre Dame, we got Bama, we had a couple of Bama fans today stop by, so we appreciate that. But he just goes into like one specific data point, one specific example of Kirby Smart's coaching. Mentioned that the practices are intense with high endurance drills. Going into quarter 4, Georgia has usually worn down their opponents. And by the way, also of note, and I think this is a testament to his coaching, and Saban did this too. Did you notice that in the game versus Florida State, everybody played? Brock Bowers, I think, was on a snap count, but like everybody played in a game that did not have playoff ramifications. That's right. Coaching because yeah, and instituting a culture. And I will say, you may say, okay, John, what's your point? So far, we've just noticed similarities between Georgia and Michigan on physicality, but my point also extends the other direction from a perspective of finesse. So while I'm not asking for Michigan to turn into a USC or an air raid or anything like that, when you look at the run pass ratio, 40.43% was our pass play percentage in 23, 39% in 22. Even Andrew Olesh's dad pointed that out as something that was he wasn't so sure about before he met Sharon Moore and went through the visits and worked out with Sharon Moore and everything else in that article. So it's a thing that's really being discussed by recruits and their families as a concern. You look at Georgia, and they had a 47.72% pass and 46% the year prior. So I'm not saying that Georgia's slinging the football in a crazy aspect either, but they are, I think, instituting a lot more of a balanced offense. Yeah. And all I'm asking is, can Michigan do the same to get up to that 47?
They will. They just need players to evolve the playbook, which is why we have Brady Hart, which is why they're going after Andrew Marsh. They're looking to be more balanced. They're not looking to lose their identity. They're not looking to not be a power run. And if you want to see the most optimal offense in all of football, it's the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions have a power run game and an extremely aggressive, diverse air attack. Now, look, I'm not saying Michigan's going to be the Detroit Lions offense. What I'm saying is you can still maintain a power run game and still have a threatening air attack. And with a quarterback like Brady Hart, hopefully Jaden Davis too. Carter Smith, we got to see his mechanics continue to develop, but he's an extremely good talent as well. Yeah, dude. I mean, listen, Michigan, that's what I mean why the 26th class is so important, because right now they are building the team, or they are looking to build the team to meet that identity, to be a balanced, not dangerous both on the ground and in the air, and then continue to shut you down defensively. That's where they're looking to build, and the recruits show it. I mean, look, like I said, dude, I do these recruiting breakdowns. We can all watch the film. There's a type of player Michigan's going after, and it's straight dogs, bro, on both sides of the ball, offensively, defensively. I mean, look, we got a lot of dirt nasty players, bro, but they're the kind of players we like, like they'll smack you in the mouth and keep it moving, bro. That's just where we are.
Like everybody who we've shown the huddle film on the last couple of weeks, have you noticed one thing in common? They are laying the wood on their opponents every single time.
Physical ass players who love football. And that's what it's about, man. And that's why Michigan, they're like, what is the culture? That's the culture. They don't find the kids who don't want it. They don't find the kids where other things are more important than ball. Like it's just, That's so like, how do they develop these diamonds in the rough? One, we know how to develop players. And then two, we find the kids who want to be developed. If you don't put the work in, what's it matter how talented you are? Who cares if you're some track star who don't want to freaking work after practice, bro? That's the culture. Take notes, Ohio State. You'll figure it out in November.
Yeah, well, hopefully, yeah. I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I think if they stick with the same right tackle, and then you get the Alabama center who can't snap a football. Even Chip Kelly, who I think is one of the better offensive coordinators in football, is going to have a bit of a problem.
Yeah, no, look, dude, listen. We understand Ohio State's legit. We understand their power program. But when you're debating, Michael Jordan and LeBron or Kobe, we're talking about degrees of separation. And, the reality is Ohio State, when they meet a team more physical than they are, they can't hang. So that's where we are. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think you're more physical than we are yet. So we'll find out what the deal is in November. And I see some Ohio State fans in the comment. Take those receipts. I don't give a shit, bro. Write them down, print them, put some lamination on them. I'll be here and I'll see you then. All right.
Let me ask you one question, TJ. If back in this time 4 years ago, if you had thought like we would be having this conversation right now, the fact that we're putting Georgia, Ohio State, and Michigan all in kind of the same elite and it's degrees of separation, how happy we would have been despite all the shitty aspects of 2020. Like, I would have been flipping cartwheels.
All I wanted for the last 17 years is to be a top 3 program in college football, bro. When we beat Ohio State, and then this year, when we started beating Ohio State, I was like, all right, we're coming. And then these playoffs, when we lost to TCU, bro, I was like, son of a, like everyone else watching the show, dude, we were all pissed, bro. And that was a touchdown by Roman Wilson, but whatever.
Yep.
But then this year we get the dub against Alabama, bro. We let the world know the deal against Alabama. Nick Saban's last game. Let them know the deal in the Rose Bowl under the lights. What a game, bro. Probably my favorite game of all time. That game meant more to me than the national championship game against Washington, as crazy as that sounds, but it meant something, bro. This shit means something to me, bro. And freaking that Washington game, we go in there and we just wax them. Joe Moore award-winning offensive line was not. Was not. Our offensive line was better than their offensive line. So, dude. And then when we beat Alabama, I was like, oh, shit, we're a top 3 program. And then we went to Washington and won that natty, bro. I was like, all right, we're king of the mountaintop, man. So, dude, I mean, to be where we are when where many of us were calling for Jim Harbaugh to be fired, myself included, I'll own it. Yeah, bro.
Same.
Yeah, dude. What a turn. What a turn, bro. And it ain't done yet, bro. Now we are in the expanded Big Ten. We got primetime matchups every month. Maybe every, I don't know, we play 4 or 5 crazy games this year. And then, obviously we got the rivals and some of the other, familiar foes in the Big Ten. This is gonna be a hell of a year. And, and now it's going to be even bigger. You got the 12-team playoff. Shit, bro. I'm ready, bro. I wish football season, I wish it was next week. I'm game ready, bro. Let's go. But we got to wait 2 more months.
We have some excited people also who are super chatting and throwing some $10 at us. So thank you for another one, Justin. And UGA is the only big college in Georgia. That's why they get every top kid out of the state. Michigan will need to play Georgia to start getting Georgia kids. Love this show. Josh and John and TJ do a great job. And by the way, if you donate to me, you can call me Josh as much as you want. So so no, thank you for that.
John is for sale. You can call him Josh.